Hi, I'm John Mollett, the senior pastor here at Stonebridge United Methodist Church, and I hope you've already heard about our new capital campaign called God's House, Our Home. It's a little different capital campaign than we've done in the past. We've done several in the past to be able to build buildings, but now we're taking a breath and trying to reduce the debt that we've incurred over the years. You know, we have an incredible history here at Stonebridge United Methodist Church. Don Smith started this congregation in 1995 with 225 people at Dow Middle School. And it was an amazing thing because sometimes we forget most churches really struggle along their first few years just to get 100 people in worship. And in fact, 70 to 80% of all new church starts fail.
Hi, I'm Alan Barker, and this is my wife, Ellen. And we are co-campaign directors for God's House, Our Home. Through this church, our two sons have grown into be very fine young Christian men. This church alone has helped develop their spiritual walk with their Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, through their attendance and support of missions, Bible studies, leadership roles, youth camps, youth events, and other activities that this church has been working with.
Hi, we're Keith and Shannon Knight. We're campaign directors for God's House, Our Home, and we've been members of Stonebridge United Methodist Church since December 2002. One of the reasons we love Stonebridge United Methodist Church is because of all the programs that are offered here for our three boys who are 12, 8, and 4. And when our oldest was 4, we started in the preschool program, and we're very impressed with that and the love that he felt here for this church. And then we've also experienced the elementary programs and junior high, and even basketball here in this gym this year with Upward.
So Alan talked about how important this church has been to us, and specifically to my boys, but it's also been very important to us as a young Christian couple. We started here in 1996, as he said, and this is where we learned the true love of Jesus Christ and His grace. We met our Christian friends here, we fellowshipped, and we learned to serve. And so this is why this church is so important to us, and the campaign is very important to us as well. And the reason it is because it's a debt reduction campaign, and one of the things Alan and I have strived to do in our overall Christian walk, especially since we've lived in McKinney, is to be fiscally responsible. And it's time for our church to do the same thing. We've grown this church, we've invested in all the different phases of it, and now it's time for us to really be fiscally responsible and pay down the debt. Because what's important to us is that the way this church has been able to develop us as Christians and our children as Christians, we want to continue that outreach. We want to be able to be kingdom builders, and in order to do that, we need to pay down this debt so that we can build the kingdom further for Jesus Christ.
We agreed to be campaign directors for the debt reduction because of some of the obstacles that are faced by the church, and there seems to be a kind of a constant conversation about finances in the church, and there's a level of frustration with that, just simply because of the fact that whenever you're talking finance, the debt service takes so much of the allocation of the actual operating budget that it's hard to actually fund what the primary goals and the purposes of the church are. So when it comes to funding different missionary programs or different ministries of the church, sometimes that obstacle of the debt is so wide that you can't step around it to actually do what the primary functions and the goals are.
So let's talk a little bit about money. We owe $5.7 million on the buildings and on the land because the first thing we had to do was buy some land, and we bought that in parcels from the United Methodist Church as we wanted to build. We built phase 1, which is Celebration Hall, the Sunday school classes that are around it, and some office space, just to get the church going. And we still owe $2.3 million on phase 1. I know that sounds like a lot, but the congregation was small at that time, and it was a stretch to be able to get the money they needed to build a building like we're in. When we wanted to build some new Sunday school space and to have small groups, to have disciple Bible study, and to have a preschool, we built phase 2. In phase 2, we still owe $1 million. And then phase 3, the Robertson Activity Center, gave us the opportunity to have a new worship service, the bridge, to have sports ministry, to have community meals. It gave us a lot of new opportunities. And so we still owe $2.1 million on that. And that's how we got to the $5.7 million that we now owe. That mortgage costs us about $34,000 every month, and about $400,000 and a little more, $409,000 a year. Can you imagine what we would be able to save if we were able to reduce the debt by $1 million or $2 million or even $3 million? In fact, for every $1 million that we reduce the debt, we will save $80,000 a year just on interest. You know, our subtitle for this campaign is called Opening Doors to Endless Opportunities Through Jesus Christ. I want you to think about how many doors we can open to new ministries by saving that kind of money every year from our debt.
One of the things you think about the life of your family, the life of a church, life of any company or organization, is that at the early years you have to expend money in order to have facilities, to have certain capital necessary to run those organizations, also the staff. And you get to a point that over a period of time, as we are now at Stonebridge, that debt will somehow begin to creep in and sometimes stifle the fact that you can't grow. So until we get that debt down, then we're not going to be able to continue to grow and meet the missions of which this church has been founded upon.
And so we call this God's house, but we also call it our church home, and you're our church family. And we hope that you'll join us in this campaign and that you'll sacrifice so that we can bring more people to Christ and expand the ministries of Stonebridge United Methodist Church. Thank you.
Thank you.